once a rising star in the Democratic Party and the main challenger to Ron DeSantis in Florida in 2018, Andrew Gillum, has been indicted for wire fraud and providing false statements, ultimately being hit with 21 felony charges. Now, this guy's mostly out of the news, but the reason this story is important is because of how close we came to unmitigated disaster. Andrew Gillum lost to Ron DeSantis by only around 30,000 votes. And many of you may be saying, yeah, but Tim, this is just coming out now. I mean, it's been 4 years. How could we have known? Gillum has been accused of corruption for years now. Donald Trump called Tallahassee the most corrupt city in the state, and Andrew Gillum was the mayor. A couple of years ago, Andrew Gillum was discovered sick in a hotel room in compromising positions, and, well, I'll leave it at that, but NBC News actually does get into what he was found doing, and yikes. And this is the story. 30,000 votes in Florida could have meant that this guy, pure corruption, would have been governor. We wouldn't have Ron DeSantis leading the charge. We would have unmitigated corruption. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that what Andrew Gillum does is indicative of a deeper problem within the Democratic Party. I think other candidates and the things they do, it speaks for themselves. Joe Biden, is he corrupt? You betcha. Ukraine, come on, man. A quid pro quo with the president of Ukraine to get the prosecutor investigating Burisma fired? Yeah, that's all true. But that speaks for itself. Granted, Joe Biden likes sniffing kids, and I have questions about what he's doing with his family, and now new information from his daughter's diary, as well as information coming out from the Hunter Biden laptop. Yeah, I think we've got a problem with corruption among the Democratic Party. And don't get me wrong, the neocon establishment Republicans right up there alongside with them. What's scary to me here is Ron DeSantis, if he had lost, we would have a governor in Florida. Would he even have been indicted? I mean, imagine how crazy that would be for a sitting governor to actually get indicted. They should be. How many governors killed the elderly during the COVID crisis? Would he have gotten away with this? Would he have shielded his crimes by hiding in public office? And if he did get elected, we wouldn't have seen the tremendous leadership that is coming from Ron DeSantis. And now, according to a few polls, according to PredictIt, Ron DeSantis is actually beating Trump in terms of the Republican nomination come 2024. Ron DeSantis winning. He has done such a great job. Many people are now saying Trump's not the answer. DeSantis might actually be. I think that's fantastic news. I'll talk about Trump and DeSantis because there's things about Trump that I really do like. And there's things about DeSantis that I like as well. But what we're seeing now with this corruption is absolutely horrifying. So let's talk about this corruption. Let's talk about what they're caught doing. And then we'll talk about what's happening with Joe Biden himself, whether or not he will even be the nominee for the Democrats. I know 2024 is light years away. It is, well, that's a measure of distance. So let's just say it's an eternity away. I mean, we're looking at a couple of years. But I think they're not going to run Joe Biden. I could be wrong about that. But if they do not run Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee, they're going to need to find a replacement, which means next year or even before then, they will have to make that announcement. So if it's going to happen, we should be hearing about it very soon. Now, who's going to win? Ron DeSantis or Trump? DeSantis apparently won't run if Trump does. But we've got some interesting news. Apparently, Ron DeSantis is not asking Trump for an endorsement in his reelection campaign for governor. And he's running now. So we will see. All of this matters. It scares me to think that we were this close to getting this absolutely corrupt governor. And we knew he was corrupt back then. We know he's corrupt now. He's being charged with it now. But it seems like the Democratic voters didn't care. Let me show you the data from 2018. It'll freak you out. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work. As a member, you'll get access to exclusive segments from the Timcast IRL podcast. We put up a Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. They are not family friendly. They are uncensored. You will also be supporting all of the work we do. We hired a couple new journalists as recently. We're going to be hiring more. We are launching 2 new documentary productions. We've got new shows in the works, some culture jamming plans, and it's all thanks to you. Plus, some major infrastructure changes to support systems that oppose mass censorship and will break the monopoly that is Silicon Valley. We use Rumble cloud infrastructure as well as the Rumble player for our website. But don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, NBC News reports Andrew Gillum, DeSantis' 2018 opponent, indicted for wire fraud, false statements. Once a rising Democratic star in Florida, Gillum and his mentor are accused of fraudulent fundraising. He says he's innocent. Well, to be fair, innocent until proven guilty. But I don't trust this guy considering his past history and other accusations made against him. Now, I will also point out the FBI. They've been investigating this guy. Yeah, I don't really trust the FBI either, but it's hard to know for sure. Is it my own personal bias that I look at this and I say, the FBI is finally doing good work going after these corrupt Democrats? Is that my bias against Democrats? Or should I just maintain the bias against the FBI and say, I don't trust them to actually do good, to do right? And maybe Gillum really isn't innocent. You know, I think that the latter doesn't make sense. And I got to say, credit to the FBI. Maybe, I think it's fair to say, we've got a lot of security issues going on here, and I'm frustrated. I'm assuming that they're investigating it, and maybe it just takes time. To be fair, it just takes time. And I shouldn't come down on those who are probably doing the good work to actually uncover the stuff. The reason why I say this is a bit of a white pill in terms of the FBI actually engaging in legitimate law enforcement. There's photos of Gillum in a hotel doing untoward things. Right there says to me, more likely than not, the feds are right on this one, and they're actually doing their job, and credit where credit is deserved. Andrew Gillum, the once rising Florida Democratic star who narrowly lost the 2018 governor race to DeSantis, was hit with a 21-count federal indictment Wednesday for wire fraud, related conspiracy charges, and making false statements. Gillum, the former Tallahassee mayor, was charged along with his mentor, Sharon Letterman Hicks, for fraudulently fundraising from various entities between 2016 to 2019, according to a Department of Justice press release. The Justice Department said the two allegedly diverted some of the money to a company controlled by Letterman Hicks, who fraudulently disguised the funds as payroll payments to Gillum. That seems extremely cut and dry. In a written statement, Gillum and his lawyers proclaimed his innocence. Letterman Hicks, a candidate for a state house seat, has not returned texts or calls from NBC News requesting comment. Quote, I have spent the last 20 years of my life in public service and continue to fight for the people, Gillum said. Every campaign I've run has been done with integrity. Make no mistake that this case is not legal, it is political. Throughout my career, I have always stood up for the people of Florida and have spoken truth to power. There's been a target on my back ever since I was the mayor of Tallahassee. They found nothing then, and I have full confidence that my legal team will prove my innocence now. Okay, innocent until proven guilty. I want to see hard evidence. I want to see a jury of his peers come to a decision. If that decision is acquittal, so be it. I do not like the condemnation before a trial has commenced or concluded. I just don't trust Gillum. The indictment marks a new low for Gillum, a married father of three, who withdrew from public life as a political leader and a paid CNN commentator after a March 2020 sex scandal involving a suspected male overdose victim in a South Beach hotel. You see, oh man. At the time, Gillum said he was abusing alcohol as he coped with his loss to DeSantis. But campaign finance records and a leaked criminal subpoena in 2019 showed that Gillum also faced the pressure of an FBI investigation. Two sources with whom Gillum spoke Tuesday told NBC News that he began phoning friends frantically about the criminal case when he was informed that his indictment was imminent. Neither would speak on the record because they weren't authorized to speak on his behalf. They said Gillum rendered himself to prosecutors at 10 a.m. and that his indictment could be unsealed at 1 p.m. Eastern time. He makes his first appearance at 2 p.m. according to the DOJ. He's down, he's sad, he feels beat up, one of the sources said. Both face 19 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Each charge carries a maximum 20-year mandatory minimum. Gillum faces 2 additional charges of lying to investigators, each charge of which carries a maximum 5-year sentence. According to the indictment, the FBI began to sniff out the alleged scheme of Gillum and Letterman Hicks in 2016, when he was mayor and undercover agents investigating corruption in the city were steered to him. The two allegedly used his position as mayor, as a progressive activist, and then as a top candidate for governor to skim money from a variety of individual donors and nonprofits, fraudulently pretending to perform voter outreach or to fight for local government rights while pocketing the cash, even after his campaign for governor ended in 2018. Gillum's decision to resign from his job at the liberal group People for the American Way in early 2017, was particularly stressful for him, the indictment said, because he could not absorb the loss of a $122,500 annual salary. According to the indictment, he and Letterman Hicks then arranged for more money to flow through her communications business, P&P Communications, which paid him as an employee or as a contractor. Very, very interesting. Yeah, look, I don't trust this guy at all. And I gotta say, the FBI started sniffing around in 2016. It's been 6 years and they finally dropped the indictment. It takes a long time. Okay. I know many people don't want to hear it, but the FBI deserves some credit here. They deserve credit for actually digging into this. There are questions about January 6th and what the FBI is doing. And I understand the argument. They're concerned that people stormed the Capitol during the counting of the electoral votes because they believed things that were not true. Or many of them were just angry. I think what's happening in these D.C. jails is abhorrent and terrifying. And I believe the federal government, well, they overreach way too often. I'm not a fan of the FBI as a whole, but I should recognize, and I think it's fair to say, when they investigate corruption, they uncover corruption, they accuse people of corruption. I'm interested in seeing the evidence, and I lean towards, I'm glad the FBI is digging in. I don't believe this guy. Let me show you this. Let me show you this from Politico. 49.6% of the vote in 2018 for Ron DeSantis. 4,076,186 votes. Andrew Gillum got 49.2%. 4,043,723. Ron DeSantis almost lost. We know DeSantis is a great governor. We know he's doing so well, the people of Florida are like, keep your hands off my governor, because we want him to run for president, or at the very least, vice president along with Trump. If they're going after Gillum, they're not going after DeSantis. I got to say that my biases, and they exist, lean towards Andrew Gillum is likely corrupt. The FBI is likely doing the right thing. I would imagine the establishment would be furious with DeSantis. He's defied Joe Biden. He's insulted Joe Biden. He's mocked the establishment and the woke cult. They have every reason to go up against him. Instead, they're going up against the guy who lost to him. Why? I'm sure there's a million and one conspiracy theories you can come up with, but I think the answer is simple. Andrew Gillum has consistently been accused of corruption. So we can go to his Wikipedia page, and we can see corruption and misuse investigations as the mayor of Tallahassee. Going back to 2017, he's been accused of very serious corruption. They say during his mayoral campaign in 2014, Gillum faced allegations of misconduct after hiring private equity investor Adam Corey as the treasurer. Corey is an investor in the Edison, a restaurant that received taxpayer money from the city to help the Cascades Park development project. During an FBI investigation into the matter, city officials stated that Gillum's vote did not constitute a conflict of interest, and Gillum cut ties with Corey. This guy's been long accused of doing wrong. I think the FBI went after him because he's a bad guy and he's corrupt. They're not going after Ron DeSantis because Ron DeSantis is a good guy who's not corrupt. Military experience. I like DeSantis. What can I say? That's my bias. Keep in mind. The Washington Post back in 2018. Let me show you this. Let's go over here. This is the results June 22nd, 2018. The results posted. Look at this. August 31st, 2018, corruption probe looms over Democrats' historic campaign for Florida governor. This is crazy to me. A less savory narrative threatens to collide with that heartening origin tale. A federal grand jury has been conducting a public corruption investigation in Tallahassee. The probe drew little notice beyond the Capitol during the primary campaign, but it's attracting new attention with Gillum's bid to become the first African-American governor of the nation's largest swing state and Florida's first Democratic governor in 20 years. Was this updated in August? Because they're acting like it's past tense. June 22nd. Okay, so this maybe was updated well after the fact. I think the campaign, the vote was actually in November. Before this guy, before anyone even cast a vote for him, look at this. How could these 4 million people hear the story of this corruption of Gillum and be like, I'm going to vote for him? That's scary to me, man. That's scary to me. From the Sun Sentinel. Ex-Florida governor candidate Andrew Gillum was in Miami Beach hotel room where drugs were found. That's one way to put it. So look, I think there's a lot of reasons to complain about what the FBI's done. But I've put it this way on Timcast IRL. I've spoken with feds in the past. That's right. And what they tell me is that within the intelligence agencies and federal law enforcement, the culture war exists. There are good FBI agents who would agree with you on your politics and say freedom, liberty, gun rights. And there are those who are pro-Democrat. And that's the issue. How do we function if that's the case? This country is being ripped apart. But that means you'll probably get some good FBI agents who go after Gillum and deserve credit for doing it because they're actually digging into corruption. Let me just say, I don't know if Gillum is guilty of these things, but considering he was found in a room with a drug overdose and questionable things, I kind of believe it's probably true. That's just my bias, and I'll say it outright. Now let's see what's going on with the president. Because Andrew Gillum lost, we get Ron DeSantis. Because we got Ron DeSantis, we now see a real prospect for a good president. Look, Donald Trump did a lot of great things, in my opinion. I think he was pretty good. But I think for a lot of reasons, he was not so good. That's why I didn't vote for him in 2016. Ron DeSantis, I don't know how I feel about his foreign policy on culture war issues, on kids in schools, on free speech, and I should say somewhat on free speech. But on a lot of these issues, he's fearless. He stands up, speaks his mind, and he's doing right. On lockdown issues, he did right for the freedom of the people of Florida, and that's why people are flocking to Florida. He has shown tremendous leadership, and I got to say, when I appeared on the Daily Wire's show, Backstage Live a couple months ago, I said I'd rather have DeSantis over Trump. It's an easy choice. I mean, let's be honest. Ron DeSantis, military experience. He was in the Navy. He was in JAG, so he's like a lawyer, okay? So he's got legal military experience. I'm a big fan. I dig it. He's a lot younger, more tactful, and less, the smears have a harder time sticking to him. Now, there are some reasons I'm worried and think Donald Trump may be better. I'm not convinced Ron DeSantis would drain the swamp. Donald Trump did in his first term. Some people, not enough. I think if Donald Trump gets elected now, he's going to go ham, just start firing people. And I'm like, you get a guy who goes in and just says, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And that's a good thing for the American government and the American people. Ron DeSantis will probably get in my opinion, and be like, I'm going to stay true to what I believe. I'm going to fight for what I want, but let's not rock the boat too much. Maybe we just need one term of someone who's not so rational. But I got to admit, it's a tough choice because Ron DeSantis, he's doing an amazing job. He really is. Christina Pushaw, his spokesperson, does an amazing job. Christina as press secretary in a DeSantis administration would be incredible. Kayleigh McEnany did wonderfully as well. Check this out. Politico reports. This is this morning. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis has plenty of advantages ahead of his November re-election. More than $100 million in the bank, a growing statewide Republican voter advantage, massive popularity with the conservative base. What DeSantis doesn't need and isn't requesting, former President Donald Trump's endorsement. Interesting. According to 4 people connected to the governor and former president, DeSantis has not asked Trump for a formal endorsement and isn't planning to. It's a clear sign that DeSantis, who more than 4 years ago was a little-known congressman from Northeast Florida, has risen high in the GOP stratosphere. Isn't that crazy? Congressman in Florida, and now the top Republican. Now, Donald Trump may be. I got some polls to show you. DeSantis' reluctance to seek the former president's public support comes as the Florida governor prepares for a likely 2024 White House bid, even if Trump also runs in 2024. Now, that's interesting. That's interesting. Setting up a potential clash between 2 powerful figures. I would love to see that. That's tough, man. I don't know who I'd vote for. I think I'd go for DeSantis, to be completely honest, even though I know I want Trump to drain the swamp. DeSantis is just, he's younger, he's more tactful, he's got military experience. Trump has used his endorsement as a cudgel against Republicans who voted to impeach him after the January 6th riot. And that I enjoy very much. They go on to say, while Trump's endorsement has the power to make or break a candidate, this election cycle has seen his influence waning in some races. In Georgia, for example, the candidates who supported the former president's attempts to overturn the election results and won his endorsement failed to beat the incumbents. An endorsement from Trump, however, would not likely change DeSantis' frontrunner status in Florida among his Florida supporters. Polls have consistently shown him leading his Democratic rivals. In straw polls in Wisconsin, Nevada, and the annual Western Conservative Summit survey, DeSantis has even topped Trump. That's right. I like DeSantis more, man. I got to say, check this out. From the National Review, DeSantis leads Trump in the 2024 New Hampshire primary general election polls. I got to wonder if the era of Trump, it came and it is going. And now we're going to get a strong, fearless leader from Ron DeSantis who can enact a lot of those populist policies we want to see without calling people horseface. Even Bill Maher was like, yeah, DeSantis would be a lot better. One of the things I didn't like about Trump in 2016 was the lack of decorum. I know a lot of people don't care, and you're right. I respect that opinion. I don't like elitism, but I like stoicism. Not absolute, but I like rational, calm, and tactful behavior. Donald Trump did a lot of things I did like in 2020. A lot of his policies, school choice is huge. I want to see more of that. But I just don't like his attitude. A lot of people really did like his attitude. And those that voted for him, they voted for him because they liked what they got. That's exactly what they wanted. And more people voted for him in 2020 than they did in 2016. I think 12 million more people. I was one of them. Notably because, no Joe Biden, please. No. Yeah, but we got Joe Biden anyway. Yo, Ron DeSantis would be legit. Take a look at this. Not only is he winning in the New Hampshire poll, they say this, a new poll shows that support for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in a hypothetical 2024 GOP presidential contest among likely New Hampshire voters has grown substantially, with DeSantis even boasting a slight lead over former President Donald Trump. The University of New Hampshire survey found that support for DeSantis has more than doubled since last October to 39%. That's amazing. 37% of likely voters said they would vote for Trump. 9% said they would vote for former Vice President Mike Pence. Blech. If Mike Pence is the nominee, I'm out. Because I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican. If anything, I'm a libertarian. Because I'll tell you this. If there was a clear shot, actually, I'll put it this way. You know who I really, really would prefer to support for the presidency? Dave Smith of the Libertarian Party of the Mises Caucus. Way better. Dave Smith is fantastic. I just love hearing him go on TV and rag about the Obama administration and the Trump administration, just the terrible foreign policy of the United States. It is music to my ears. I tweeted the other day, Obama holds the world record for most children killed by a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Yeah, I don't think Obama was necessarily happy to win the prize because he was like, just killed a bunch of kids. Probably shouldn't get that award. And he did. And wow, how dumb. Donald Trump did pretty well with foreign policy. And that's one of my biggest concerns. I don't know if I trust Ron DeSantis on foreign policy. You can't butter me up with culture war issues and then think I'll ignore that. But we will see. Take a look at this from PredictIt. Who will win the 2024 Republican presidential nomination? Ron DeSantis is winning. This is fascinating. Right now, 39 cents to buy a share of Ron DeSantis, 36 to buy in Trump. That sort of is like percentages, but it's basically you can buy shares. That's how much people are selling them for because they think it's going to happen. And then basically, you know what happens is once the primary is like once they solidify who the nominee is, this closes and then you can cash out if you were right. And if you lose, if you're wrong, look, Tim Scott's great. But if you pick Tim Scott, I don't see why people would buy. Well, I do. But if you bought Tim Scott, you're probably not going to win. You're going to lose your money. Here's what I think people are doing. You buy Tim Scott that for 3 cents a share. In a few months, he comes out, makes a big, powerful statement. All of a sudden, he goes from 3 to 7 cents. You sell it, you make a profit. Because people will be like, maybe there's a real possibility. I wouldn't put any money on anyone other than Ron DeSantis or Trump. And I got to be honest, if I was going to, it'd be DeSantis. hands down. Trump has got that gravitas, but Ron DeSantis, it is still early. And right now he's a rising star and he's doing right. Donald Trump's holding rallies, but I don't know if he's catching that wind the same way he did. And he's an older guy. That youth, for Ron DeSantis, what is he, in his late 40s? Yo, I'm a big fan. I would love to have Ron DeSantis on Timcast IRL because I would love to talk to him about foreign policy. And I'm fairly certain this guy's going to come out and he's going to win over the moderates and the conservatives. But we'll see. Donald Trump is the madman. And I mean that both in the good way and the bad way. We need someone who's going to go in, stand up to the establishment, and say, we need 4 years to clean house, fix the problems. Then DeSantis comes in with a clean house. That would be, in my opinion, probably the best case scenario. If Donald Trump is up for it, don't know. We'll see. If Ron DeSantis gets in and cleans house and fires the swamp, we wouldn't have needed that that extra 4 years of Trump. Over at Yahoo News, Trump thinks he'd defeat Florida Governor Ron DeSantis if they face each other in a 2024 presidential run. Trump told the New Yorker, I think I would win. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a good reason to believe he would. There really is. Over at Newsweek, Ron DeSantis' chances versus Trump if both run in 2024 based on polls and odds. All right, let's see what we got here. Trump comprehensively beat DeSantis in a Chicago Sun-Times poll conducted between June 6th and 7th. 51% to 23%, and by a greater margin of 51% to 18% in a Morning Consult poll. All right, well, okay. Some polls are confident in DeSantis. Why? Because time will tell. A lot could happen between now and 2024. But Trump has got that gravitas, man. It's undeniable. Top Democrats jockey for 2024 presidential campaign position. Bernie Sanders is just the most openly ambitious of an emerging field of Democratic hopefuls who are positioning themselves to run for president next time if Biden doesn't. It's worse than that. Democrats are behind the scenes plotting to oust Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders is an old guy. I think he'd do way better than Joe Biden. I think we'd face a lot of problems with Bernie Sanders better than Joe Biden. The fact that they're even discussing this shows they don't think Joe Biden can handle it. I don't think Joe Biden can handle it. But take a look at this. Over at PredictIt, who will win the 2024 Democratic presidential nomination? Joe Biden with 37 cents, Kamala Harris with 18 cents, Pete Buttigieg 14, Gavin Newsom 13. We really don't know. People think it'll be Joe Biden, but Joe Biden will get absolutely crushed. He will lose handily. I'm pretty sure even to Donald Trump. Now, in 2020, my view is a lot of rules were changed that greatly benefited urban centers and Democrat voters and Democrat candidates. I have questions. But the reality is people voted against Trump. That's it. Take a look at this metric. Enthusiasm for Trump. It was like 96%. Or it was like 90-something%. Enthusiasm for Joe Biden was in the gutter. But enthusiasm against Trump was higher than the enthusiasm for him. There were people who hated Trump so much. They said, I would rather we elect this incapable old man, because that's how much they hated Donald Trump. And they reveled in it. And you know what? I get why they don't like him. Some of these people were lied to by the mainstream media, most of them. Some of them just literally don't like the way Trump carries himself. I get it. I was in, where was I? Dallas? I was going to, wherever the Blaze is. I was going to do the Glenn Beck's show. I'm in the Uber, and the Uber driver says that he voted for Trump. He likes Trump, but man, he wished Trump would just shut up. And I'm like, wow. A lot of people feel that way. The diehard Trump supporters, I think don't necessarily get it. Some of them do. I'm not saying they're ignorant to this, but a lot of them say they like that Trump speaks this way because he's pushing back and sort of giving the finger to the establishment. But there are people in this country who heard what Trump said, and they were like, yes, TPP is bad. Yes, defend our borders. Yes, bring our jobs back. But dude, stop being a dick. Trump couldn't handle it. That being said, more people voted for Trump in 2020 than in 2016. So I don't think he was losing voters, but he was gaining enemies. You had a lot of people lining things up against him. With Ron DeSantis, I think we could actually see things kind of simmer down. And I'm not entirely sure. The question is, will DeSantis go up against the corruption? In the meantime, it's still 2022. And right now, congressional generic vote polling shows Republicans and Democrats taking a big hit. But Republicans still have a 2.8% lead, according to Real Clear Politics aggregate. And in the 538 aggregate, it's a 2.3% lead, regardless of what happens. In 2024, 2022 is looking like a very serious red wave. Will it change anything? I'm not convinced. I honestly don't know. I don't know. But I'll tell you what does change things. An honorable mention and shout out to our good friend, James O'Keefe over at Project Veritas. And this time I mean this in all seriousness. James, you rock. In this video, Jack Posobiec posted, Rep. John Curtis, field director, submits resignation to campaign manager following Veritas investigation. I would like to give you my resignation. Unfortunate that I said that. That does not associate Congressman Curtis with a negative image. In this video, in quite possibly one of the best videos ever put out by Project Veritas, we'll talk about this tonight on IRL too. The field director on camera next to James O'Keefe pulls out his phone and says, I'd like to submit my resignation. I believe in what Congressman Curtis is doing, and I don't want him to look bad. And then James is like, do you accept the resignation? And the one's like, no, I don't even know what's going on. What did he say? Amazing. To put it simply, this field director was basically talking about how the congressman withholds how he truly feels to win politically. The fascinating thing is, I just don't understand this. We on Timcast IRL just say these things. We're like, yeah, there are a lot of voters who just, they want you to say certain things whether you want it or not. I suppose the issue is none of us are intending to run for office, nor do we believe we need to lie to anybody to win political power. I don't care. I get emails all the time from people who are like, I used to like you, but then you said this. And I'm like, yeah, what do you want me to do about it? I'm going to say a whole lot of things. It's fascinating. Project Veritas, amazing work. This changes things. I hope Veritas is sharpened, as the tip of the spear, sharpened to the point. They are going to have their work cut out for them in the midterms now with what they're doing, but also in 2024. You'll love to see it. I want to see the exposés. I want to see the exposure. I want to see these members of Congress who behind the scenes lie called out. You know what I see? I talked to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's as true as it gets. Behind the scenes, she's saying the exact same things she's saying on Congress. It's amazing. And they don't like it. They want you to play ball. They want you to go out there and be like, I'm all for this bill. I'm not really for the bill. Screw that. I'm not in favor of that. I want reality and authenticity, and I want good leadership. Let's see it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.